religion, whatever you've studied of it, religion basically believes and teaches that God is very powerful, we are very weak. God controls everything, we control nothing. And that's why we have to depend on him, we have to pray to him, we have to make nice, so maybe he'll be nice to you. That is such a horrible concept. Then you add to that, you're also sinful, so now you're guilty, so you're going to get punished and you're going to suffer unless you do something, I don't know. What a horrible way to describe human beings. It's pathetic. And it makes absolutely no sense. If God is the creator, and he created us the way we are, with our problems, and then he offers to help us with our problems, that is so nasty. I create you with problems, and now you got to come to me for help, so you better behave yourself. Come on. That's a really bad description of God and a bad description of us. So let's start at the beginning. What is God?
The one who cannot be limited, but limits others.
That's a nasty guy. He can't be limited, but he limits others.
The one who is not limited but limits others.
Right.
That's basic.
That's basic.
When you talk about God, are you talking about an entity like a being, for example, like Zeus or Aphrodite, or a single entity, or is it an omnipresent force?
An omnipresent force can be a single entity. It's just everywhere. So what is God? Let me put it differently. Do you have to believe in God? Optional. God has such a bad reputation. I don't know who does his PR for him, but it's really bad. Okay. God is not optional. God means the first thing that existed from which everything else comes. That's optional? It doesn't have to be a first thing? Come on. So, you know what God is? Let me give you a good description of God. God is a subatomic particle that always existed. And when it exploded, the rest is history. Why is that God? Because everything came from him, from it. So God is a subatomic particle. Because that's what existed before the whole world came into being. So if you believe in evolution, you believe in God. But you're calling God a subatomic particle. Now, if you believe that God is a subatomic particle, then you have to believe in two gods. Because just a subatomic particle would never explode. Unless there's another God with which it collided, and you had a Big Bang. So in order to believe in God, the subatomic particle, you also have to believe in God, the gas. In fact, I don't even know which one came first. There is no way of thinking intelligently without a God. Because God means the original stuff. Now, why would you think that the original being is a little thing? Really? The original, real, absolutely powerful thing is a tiny little thing. Why would you think that? That's so materialistic. Would it make sense to say the original being? What existed before anything else? Love. Make sense? Love built up and finally it couldn't be alone anymore. So it created a whole world. Makes as much sense as a subatomic particle. No? So when we talk about God, the Jewish God, we're talking about the original whatever that knows what it's doing. That's the only difference between the Jewish God and all the other gods. So let's say God is a subatomic particle, but it's an intelligent subatomic particle. That's all. Which makes a lot of sense because the subatomic particle created a very logical world. So it must have logic. But wait a minute, there's something better. This subatomic particle is not just smart. The subatomic particle has a passion. And that's why it doesn't need something to explode with. It has its own passion. And what is that passion? To not be alone. Because that original being was alone. Creating the world meant not being alone. So what do we know about God? First of all, he must exist. There's got to be a beginning. But if he is the beginning, what moved him to create a big mess? A passion, obviously. What do you do without passion? Nothing. You just sit there. So the first thing we know about God is that he is not content to be alone. He has a passion for relationship. So he created us so that he's not alone. Now, creating mountains and oceans and planets and galaxies, he's still alone. The only time he's not alone is when he creates a human being with free will. Now he's not alone. Because now we think we're God. Or we can think we're God. And he loves that. So why did God create the world? To have us, not to have something, to have someone. And that's why we get married. Not to gain something, but to have someone. Therefore, after all of that, it doesn't make sense that we are descendants of monkeys and it just happened to evolve that way because we are the survival fittest. Any of this make sense? Yeah.
I hate to sidetrack, but do you believe in coincidences?
It just so happens that I do. I just heard this joke. This guy said, I am so confused. No, maybe I'm not. I'm not even sure I'm confused. No, I don't believe in coincidences.
Do you mind elaborating on that?
Huh?
Do you mind elaborating on that?
Yeah. There can't be a coincidence because nothing can happen unless it is willed. Nothing happens in nature, in the world. Everything has to be created. Every movement, everything. So if it's not willed, it can't happen. So things cannot happen unless they're supposed to in God's plan. So there are no coincidences. You know, people who feel a little uncomfortable with their gender, God forbid, should be told that there are no coincidences. You are not female by coincidence. You're female because somebody needs you that way. And you're male because somebody needs you that way. It's not the chromosome. It's whoever creates chromosomes. So you may not be comfortable being female, but that's how you're needed. You may not be comfortable being male, but that's how you're needed. So if you're available to serve the purpose for which you were created, you go with what God gave you. It's not a coincidence or a mistake. It's the way it needs to be. And if it's challenging, okay, so you got a challenge. But this thought of, so I'll flip it. I'll become something else. As if there was no purpose in your being what you are? What?
There's no point in that. I don't see a point.
In what?
Switching.
Right. Yeah.
Could it be possible that you're needed as a female for a certain period of time and then as a male for another period of time?
Theoretically, yeah, but how would you know that?
Well, I mean, if maybe, I'm just saying, because the idea is that you're needed, like, if let's say you feel more female and masculine body, but your need is to be masculine, but it could be possible that you also are needed as a female, so changing could be.
It is possible, but how, you got to ask God whether he changed his mind. How are you going to find that out? So if you see people evolving from female to male, then you can say, okay, God changed his mind. But if it takes a really serious operation, how do you know God changed his mind? So it's risky. All right, now here's the punchline, and this is what you got to come home with. We've got our concept of God backwards. We think that we need him. Religion tells you that you need him. And your needs are very serious. And he's tough to please. So you better try hard. Now, he created the world, right? I mean, that's the minimum definition of God. If he created the world, he needs something. Hello? Isn't that? Come on. If he created the world, he must be after something. And if you create a big universe like this, you're after something serious. This guy is serious. So the question is, what does he need? I'm just a guest. I don't have to be here. So I'm the needy one? I don't think so. He needs me much more than I need him. Does that make any sense to you? First of all, I need him for a few more years, yeah. But after 120, I'm gone. I'm done. He doesn't get old. So whatever he needs, he's going to need forever. I can't even imagine that. That's a serious need. What I need, I didn't ask for. I don't want to need what I need. I need friends. I don't want to need friends. It's too risky. Who am I going to trust? I need to eat. I don't want to need to eat. But I have no choice. God needs. Nobody forced him. So he really needs. I'm just stuck with stuff. I didn't ask to need to eat. So let's get ourselves in the right position. You think you have a bunch of needs and you're going to spend your life satisfying those needs? What a miserable existence. Okay, now I need this. Oh, now I need that. I have physical needs, biological needs, emotional needs, mental needs, social needs, religious needs. Oh, come on, I can't. I'm not interested. I didn't ask to be born. Did you? We didn't ask to be born. So why do we have all these needs? This is no fun. I didn't ask to be born, but I have to go to school. No. I didn't ask to be born. I don't have to go to school. Well, you got to make money. I got to make money? No. Well, you got to pay the bills. I have to pay the bills. Nobody asked me if I want to be born, and all of a sudden I have to pay bills? Doesn't make any sense. When you finish with this thinking, you got to come to one conclusion. God needs me more than I need him. So what is Judaism all about? What can you do for God? That's what it is. And the fact that God needs me is a big relief, because it's not my problem anymore. But it's a great compliment. He needs me. Do you see what that does to human dignity? We are not miserable, helpless, depressed little creatures begging for help, begging to be loved and saved from hell. That's misery. By the way, we're all going to hell. Trying to avoid hell is like trying to avoid breathing. Hell means when you finish being a body and you got to go back to being a soul, it's very painful adjustment. So what, you're not going to make an adjustment? This whole hang-up with hell, to not go there, is so not Jewish. We're all going. Get used to the fact. We're all going to have to make a painful adjustment from being physical to not being physical. It's unavoidable. So you don't do anything to try to avoid going to hell. That's a ridiculous plan. What we do is we try to find ways that we can serve God best with whatever talent I have, whatever free time I have, whatever love I have, whatever humility I have. I use it to do for God what God needs from me.
Does God still need us even after we pass away? Can we still help him?
In a sense, he does, because eventually we will all come back to our bodies and be able to do for him again. In heaven, you can't do much for him. He's taking care of you. But that's not what we want to be. We don't want to be retired and pampered. Well, maybe for a month, but not forever. Here on earth, we can do for him. And that's much better and more important than going to heaven where he takes care of you. Make sense? So what does he need from us? He needs us to be his. That's it. How do we be his? Go with him. When he is creating the world during the 6 days of the week, you should also be creative and fix the world. When he rests on Shabbos, rest with him. That's called keeping Shabbos. Why are you keeping Shabbos? Because he is. He is holy, be holy. He doesn't like pig, don't eat it. In other words, be on the same page with him. So what is the entire Torah with all the commandments? They're not commandments. They're God telling us about himself so that we can be on the same page with him. Now that you think about it, isn't it obvious? God says, you should rest on the seventh day. Why? Because I created the world in the 6 days and I rest on the seventh. So what do you want from me? It's so obvious. Rest with me. I find animals abominable. Okay, I won't eat them. I don't find it abominable, but if you do, I want to be on your page, so I will. That's called serving God. If God doesn't need me, I can't serve him. Judaism is about serving God. This whole community, as you explore it, is all about serving God. People wake up in the morning because God needs something from them. It's a completely different mentality. It makes for happier people. Because you're not so depressed by your own needs. And then you ask God to help you with your needs, and he doesn't help you. Now life really stinks. That's not a happy way to be.